Have you ever been accused of being messy? Or maybe you're the person that loves to have everything in a perfect place. Do you throw things out regularly, or are you known for holding on to things just in case? Today, you and I are going to talk about a topic that affects us in a different way: clutter. Now, I'm not talking about that pile of clothes in the corner or the drawer you can't close anymore. I'm talking about the way that clutter sneaks into our lives and how our personalities, even our love languages, play a big part in how we handle or don't handle it. Have you ever thought about why you hold on to things? Maybe you're a sentimental person, or maybe you just feel guilty about letting things go. Maybe you're just one of those people who gets the thrill from the totally cleared out space. Whatever the case, it's all tied up to who you are as a person, and that's what we're exploring today. So let's start by asking some big questions. How do your personality traits influence the way you collect or declutter from your life? If you're in a relationship, how does your partner's personality or love language play into your shared space? For example, if your love language is gifts, do you find it harder to let go of things that were given to you? Or if your partner thrives on acts of service, could decluttering together be a way to show love and care for each other? Then there's the process of decluttering itself. How do you approach it in a way that really feels authentic for you? Some people find peace in tidying up gradually, whereas others love the intensity of that full-on purge. It's all about what works for you and honours your unique personality. You and I are going to take a look at all of this, plus talk about strategies for decluttering that match who you are as an individual, and of course, how to communicate to those around you so that it becomes a more smooth, more harmonious process. So let's get into it. How can knowing yourself better help you get rid of things in a way that feels good? I'm Kate Mason, and welcome to Parenting and Personalities. This is the podcast that connects you to the ones you care about the most. Today I'm excited to continue our conversation from last week with Bridget Johns. Bridget's business, Be Simply Free, grew from Bridget's desire to combine her love of positive psychology, organising, decluttering and life coaching. She studied and became a Beautiful You life coach, an accredited standard mental health first aider, and a member of the Institute of Professional Organisers to further develop her networks, knowledge and skills. Bridget wants to share what she's learnt from her experiences with other women feeling trapped in the hamster wheel of life, and she would love to help you find you. How can we embrace the process of decluttering in a way that supports our emotional well-being, our relationships, and ultimately our sense of self at home? Let's explore those answers together. Hi Bridget, welcome back to Parenting and Personalities podcast. We're so excited to have you here today.
Thank you.
Now, you and I are going to look today into that fascinating world of the MBTI personality types and love languages and how these can actually shape possibly how we clutter.
Yes, 100%.
Who knew? So we're going to take a look and see if we can spot ourselves and maybe even some of the people that we know in our lives as we discuss the different parts of our natural personalities and how they can show up in our clutter-filled journeys. We were looking at your personality type the other day, and after a bit of adjusting, can you tell me what you decided your MBTI personality type was? And if you can't, I can.
Yes, let me just bring it up. Definitely an introvert. That is the first one.
Yeah.
So yes, it is something that I definitely noticed and probably didn't realize before I understood it more. But I am an ISTJ. So introverted, sensing, thinking, judging person.
And ISTJs are the perfect people for what you do with your life. So when you look at the way an ISTJ operates, you are almost in heaven because you are planning and coordinating and structuring and helping people. We had a bit of problem around the F and the T for you, but the thing is that we can all think and we can all feel. So, that's cool. But often when you do something online what did you go through to do your personality type?
I did the free 16 personalities test, but as we talked about, I'm a thinker, so I'm almost overthinking the test, and I do remember trying to be in the moment. And maybe parenting wise, I'm encouraging my kids to feel a bit more. So I may have been a bit more tilted that way. But when we were chatting and I actually talk about, I think, and I physically say that out loud, I think this, we came with the T.
Yeah. And you're the fact you're analytical as well. So, so it's great to have a conversation, because when people, if you are going to be trying anything like this, then you need to understand that sometimes the letters might change, and with a bit of discussion, that's often why you use an MBTI person like myself or anyone else, because they can finalize and help you actually work out your type. So that was a very interesting discussion. So what we started talking about was, kind of like, what's your view perhaps of tidy, and what's my view, because you are actually the opposite type to me. I'm an ESFP, okay? So I think I'm the one that you help a lot, because Clutter is our middle name, and we like, for you, everything has a place. For us, everything's in a bowl or a small pile or something like that. So tell me, how do you when you come to do you go into people's houses?
Well, again, with my analytical brain and how I want to spend my time being based in the country, I am 20 minutes away from any potential client. So I was always strategic in wanting to connect with women. And I suppose I'm also passionate about rural women as well. So the beauty of my business, Be Simply Free, supporting women to get organized, started 2 weeks before the dreaded C word, the COVID word in March 2020, when not many people knew what Zoom was. But that was always my business model, to connect with women across Australia and actually internationally in New Zealand and over in Europe as well. And I help them to do the thinking. Ironically, now I think about it, to stop, focus, notice. We come up with the action plan. And then between our sessions within a fortnight, we set baby achievable goals they're going to work on. And we touch base in a fortnight's time via Zoom. But in between, we connect over WhatsApp to ask those questions. And when people get stuck in the overwhelm of choice, they can contact me and we talk through that option and come up with a different way of thinking. So yes, I'm not in people's homes as a strategic thing for me, but I also do that intentionally, because the clutter has built up in our home. And if someone is coming in and removing all of that clutter for us and we haven't taken the time to think about how it came into our life, it can come back really quickly. So sometimes that hard work of getting rid of the clutter will stop it coming back as fast into their lives as well. So yeah, there's intention and strategy behind the model that I work with people on.
But that makes a lot of sense, because you often watch on TV shows, they get the declutterer to come into the house, and they're, like you say, it's a real psychological task. It really needs a lot of nurturing, and it needs people to be prepared and ready to let go. And a lot of the time when that doesn't happen, I'm sure those houses, as you say, those people just pull back the clutter in again, and they're back in the same position they were before. So when we were looking at personality types, we started talking about our own families, and you started talking about your children. And we were thinking about how the clutter with maybe type, first of all, because we're also going to touch on love languages. Can you see clutter of a P and a J is usually where the perceiving and the judging is usually where clutter happens, because the perceiving type just goes, oh, who cares? That can just go down here and that can go there. And do I really care? And for me, I like to be tidy, but I don't care if it's perfect. My mum puts everything has a place. Even now at 92, I go around her house and I look in the drawers and everything's neat and tidy, and I love it. It's amazing. And I go open up my drawer with a big mess of pens, and I think, oh, and then I close it because it's just the easiest thing to do. So when we're talking about J's and P's and judging and perceiving and tidiness, can you see anything of that in your children?
Yes, they're 12. I've got a 12-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter, and I'm just trying to map out and think about what is it for them. But I definitely notice my daughter is more of the collector. She likes to hold on to things, which is not natural for me to collect as much as she does. Some people might think of it as junk, but I try and talk to her about it being her treasures and having a way that she can display them that is comfortable for her. So she has more shelves in her room, some more hooks that display things. but we do live in the same house. So we need to compromise and communicate for how that works in our home. So when I look at her space, there is a lot of stuff in there, but as long as it's not on the floor, that is the compromise that we will make, that we can have beautiful things, but as long as they're respected and are placed in spaces that she enjoys, that can work well for her. And we have a system where we're having that clear by the end of the day before she goes to bed, that things are off the floor, because kids can naturally just dump and run and move on to the next thing.
Yes.
And then
does she seem to be more like you? Were you saying that she seemed to be more like you with her tidiness in a sense?
Yes, she's very much like me as a child. So we can rush through and leave things on the ground, but then we need it reset before we work on things that we're wanting to do. So when she comes home from school, she's more playing the teacher and those type of things, and we'll move things around and tidy as part of the play. But she's still a 10-year-old and will forget to pop things away as well.
But do you know what I find fabulous about that is that you are willing, you're happy to put things on shelves so that she can see them and keep it a tidy collection of things. Because I always joke about my son having the neatest toy cupboard in town by the time he was 3. And this is where I recognised about type, because I really didn't care and it just used to fascinate me. But he didn't like other children coming over and jumping and throwing things around his bedroom and playing with toys that he took the most immaculate care of. And so we always had an outside toys he was prepared to let go of, or in a play area where when children came to play, they could use those toys, but they'd separated from those toys. So would she be similar to that in that sense too?
Yes, and I think she more retreats to her room to do some of those playing and things like that, and she's got some things that she's more likely to play with others around, but then there are some real true special items that are well worn, well loved. She gets a little bit upset when they maybe need to go through the washing machine, so they're a safe and hygienic toy to have in our house. And when she was younger, she did wait by that washing machine and dryer to get them back.
That's so cute. But the thing is too that you're respecting as well. If we respect the way they feel about something, I think often as children we don't respect that because we're too busy thinking that it's not important. And but having a respect, because they start early, they are little people right from the very beginning. No matter what we want to do.
And
with
that
them.
is probably a really good point to make. When we are decluttering, there can be those suggestions that we declutter when the kids aren't at home, but I would not suggest that. There is a lot of traumatized adults that are scared of leaving places because things are taken away from them when they are not there. So I would always encourage people to make choices of what stays and goes of kids' property with the child as well. And the first time you work through that with them, we've been doing this since they were very young. We would look and see, we talk about what they love and we go with that angle first and see what the true things that they love. And it's a great way to see what they're actually using. And then we talk about some of the things they're not playing with as much and ask if they want to send them on to their next home and give them to another child. And maybe the first time you do that, there is nothing that they want to let go of, because a lot of the psychology is that once we realize something is ours, we do want to hold on to it. Coming back to the hunter-gatherer era when we didn't have as much things, that once it was ours, we never wanted to let go. Society has changed so much. We can pick so much up these days. Our brain hasn't caught up with the availability of consumer items. So I would highly encourage people to start early and don't be disheartened if children don't want to get rid of something straight away. You've planted a seed in their mind that this is a choice that they can make, and they can start to stop, focus, notice what they want to let go of. I'm here in my office, which is an old spare bedroom. And we have a wardrobe here that's the halfway house to the op shop. And now my kids will come in and drop things in there that they no longer need. And it's not a fight with them to let go of it. But we've been on a 6-year journey to get to that stage. So don't be disheartened when they don't let go of things, but continue to ask them about what stays and goes, and give them a space boundary. So my daughter does have a beautiful treasure drawer that she can keep whatever she wants in there. There's rocks and paper and all those things. But as it starts to fill up, talk to her and let her know that when this is full, we're going to need to make choice of what stays and what goes. And nothing is special if everything is special. So we're talking about these things regularly, and then we might let go of 5 things. So there's a space for 5 more things to come in, and we can, keep the things she loves.
What a wonderful, wise way of doing that. And communication, I always say communication is the key. I mean, you're constantly talking to them about it, and they're getting information and understanding around it, whereas just simply throwing stuff out doesn't build that information. So people really need to talk to you so that they can work out how to do this, because that's a great process. We did have an interior decorator work with us for many years, and our halfway house was our shed. So she would say to us, any pieces of furniture that you want to get rid of but you can't let go of, put them in the shed. And if they're still there after a year, then we would really have to decide where they needed to be. And so that has really worked for us. And I love your halfway wardrobe. I think that's a fantastic idea. And the fact that now they're recognizing, do I really need this, is a really brilliant option. So tell us about your son and anything to do with type that you can see.
Yes. So my son is definitely more like my husband, with the extrovert personalities and friends with a lot of different people that can touch across and is energized when he is around other people. He doesn't have as much of a connection to things either, but sometimes he is a preteen, and he has some back and forth with me recently. Well, about a year ago, we had the York Peninsula Field Days, which there's lots of free things people can pick up, and I am forever saying, and I was telling my community, remember, just because it's free doesn't mean we need to pick it up. And it's embedded in my husband a little bit more, and maybe the son was rebelling against me on that day. But he came home with 51, yes, 51 hats from the York Peninsula Field Days. That's a bit of whatever mum says is the opposite of what I'm going to do. And that is also his cheeky nature, and we do have wonderful banter as well. And I wanted to let them all go, but the sustainability in me was like, well, I don't want them to go to landfill either, and maybe there needs to be some discussions about promotional items for those businesses for what they give away for free, particularly to an 11-year-old boy. But the compromise and the decisions we have in our house is, as long as they are not on the floor and they are displayed and used in his room, they can continue to stay there, and they are here to this day. On his room. And a great tip for parents is hooks are a great thing to have in kids' rooms, because they can display things on there. So there's a hook behind his door, and then 2 on his wall behind his bed. The sides of his bed has some hats on it, and there is a rack in his wardrobe that has shelves on it, but it's still got the rack where your clothes would go on, and I think about 30 of them are on there. And he will use different ones, and for a while there I was using one each day for my morning walk to get some use out of them. So yes, that is a different way that we do not need 51 hats in our lives, and no. I would never. I have had the same hat for about 5 years and wear it every day. But this is his expression, and we go with that as well.
And you have to a degree. I mean, my daughter, I remember once being annoyed with her, and I said to her, look, because she's very... not now, Cassie, if you're listening, just want you to know, doing really well. But she used to have a floor robe, and, we had big boxes in her room of just stuff where we threw it. I threw it because I was really happy to throw stuff in a big box, and she was too. And I remember one time saying to her, if you don't clean up your room, I'm going to pick everything up and put it in the garbage bag and put it in the shed. Well, after 4 or 5 garbage bags, and I'd say to her, it's in the shed, I don't care. It doesn't worry me. So in the end, I realized that was a very poor way of doing it. And I'm not sure what I did. I think all the stuff went back into her bedroom again, because I didn't want to throw it out, because I'd bought it and it was all fine. So you have to remember that different types you have to approach people really differently. Like you say, that your son's very different in how they're going to declutter or how they clean up their mess as well.
But even that wardrobe example is a good example that we probably have way more in our wardrobe than we technically need in our life. We have a laundry schedule that we're washing clothes every 2 to 3 days, which it doesn't actually mean we need as many clothes as we have. And if one of the things I did was stop, focus, notice, my kids have 3 school tops that they wear for 200 days a year. because we're washing twice a week. That means that every 2 days they're always wearing a clean shirt, but we only need 3 of them to have them wearing it to school. So have a think about how many t-shirts we have for people to wear after school, and are we chasing the dopamine hit of the purchase and being sucked into the marketing of needing new things or only wearing something once on Instagram. Let's think about a way of how much do we truly need to make us happy.
Yeah, and because we are the generation of Instagram and that type of buying, and your children coming through will need teaching around that, because I know that it's crazy. We have packages delivered to our house all the time, not for me, for Cassie and Jack. And so we're like, oh my goodness, because we're not the generation to have done this. You know, we sit there and I hardly ever order anything online. I like to try stuff on, but that constant messaging. And so teaching your children to make choices and not giving them that many choices either. Like you say, not having 50 t-shirts in their wardrobe that they can choose and getting new ones all the time, because as parents you go, oh, that's a lovely new top, I'll get it for them. Yeah. Really valid stuff. So let's talk about love languages, because we're also talking about love languages as well. And I'm just going to give a quick rundown for people on what the love languages are. So Gary Chapman came up with the concept of 5 love languages, which outlines how the different ways that people give and receive love. So here's a brief outline. Number 1 is words of affirmation, and that's expressing affection through verbal affirmations, praise and appreciation. Number 2 is acts of service, and you show love by doing helpful things for your partner or your kids, like chores, tasks, or taking actions that will help them be relieved of their burdens. 3 is receiving gifts, and that's through feeling loved through tangible gifts and gestures that demonstrate thoughtfulness and consideration. 4 is quality time and feeling valued by spending focused and undivided time together and engaging in meaningful activities or conversations. And number 5 is physical touch, feeling loved by physical affection such as hugs and kisses and holding hands and other forms of touch. And when I run my workshops on love languages, I say, and it's not all in the bedroom, because
Yes.
I often see men going, yes, oh, I do that. So which of the love languages do your family embrace, and how can you see those affecting clutter and holding on to things?
It is fascinating. We are 4 people that have different love languages in our household, and I love it as a way to understand people a little bit better. So myself, I've got my love languages in front of me here, and I talk about this in my programs and working with people as well. My love language is acts of service, which can be the one for a lot of women when we're doing so much for other people that it is wonderful when other people do things for us. My husband is quality time. Closely followed. He's quite even. Quality time, words of affirmation, acts of service are very close for him. My son is words of affirmation and having a 0 for receiving gifts. And my daughter is receiving gifts and quality time is tied for 30% for her. So yeah, it's fascinating to see the similarities and differences that we all have. And I can naturally go to doing things for others and acts of service as my natural way of giving gifts, like physical gifts in friendship circles, and how I give things to kids in our lives and experience gifts and doing stuff with people. And I need to recognize that my daughter's love language is receiving gifts. So while it's not my natural tendency to give things, that's how she really loves it, followed by quality time. And same with my husband. His is quality time. And sometimes I can feel so exhausted that I'm doing so much, I just want to rest on my own. But when I understand that that's his love language, we can make some space in our week and day for that as well. And yeah, my son's with 0 being receiving gifts and words of affirmation being his top one. I can be intentional about talking to him a bit more and having more of those discussions and giving the praise and having the wonderful banter we're having. I think the teenage years get a bit of a bad rap, but having a almost 13-year-old, it is wonderful, the banter we're having these days.
I think it's great. And when they have the same sense of humor, I'm so grateful that my children have the same sense of humor as I have. I'm a bit of a sick, sarcastic sense of humor, and they have the same. And we kill ourselves laughing. And even while they were teens, we had a lot of fun because you can let go a little bit and you have got them. They're actually on the same page as you. You have to be careful, but they are on the same page as you. And sharing that is a really wonderful way of keeping a great bond with them as well. I just want to ask you a quick question. I'm acts of service as well. And often I say to people, now remember, we do acts of service every day. No matter whether we are an acts of service person, we are always doing things for other people, particularly as a parent, you're doing things because you have to. The acts of service are the everyday things. Whereas when you are an acts of service person like you and I are, we actually feel great about doing those things. We do like others to do them back for us, and we can be a bit miffed if they don't. But there's an enjoyment around it which is different from just doing them for that kind of sake. So I too have a gifts girl, and she's a positive affirmation child as well. And I find it really hard to buy her presents. So I don't know about you. I'm so practical. She says, Mum, I hate your presents because they're just so, I'll buy what she needs. I'll buy because that practicality is sitting in there. What do you do?
Yes, and I have to pull myself up sometimes because of the clutter. I am a lover of experience gifts and giving gift vouchers and things like that. I try and tie it in with quality time a lot of the time. So my nieces and nephews, they have so many beautiful toys and so many people giving them things that I've made an intentional effort that for their birthdays, they get to come and do something with us for a half a day. And as they get a bit older, it's extending out a bit more and we choose to do something together. So they probably want the gift. So maybe it's me trying to seep in a bit more of experience over things there. I have in past with my kids, particularly with my son, we've had fiver parties. I'm not sure if you've heard about them before, but the premise was that when you send out an invitation, particularly for younger kids, and I was lucky that all my son's friends' parents were people I knew, I sent them a note on the back of the card saying, we are looking to simplify and declutter our life and we're on this journey. So our kids are very blessed to have a lot of things and don't need any extra gifts. And it is hard for people not to give a gift. So it says on the back of the card, if you feel the need to give something, he would love a $5 note and a kind word in a card. And that actually, we did that for many years. And now most of our friends will send like a $20 in a card for the kids' birthdays, but it also takes the emphasis away from receiving things on a birthday, because I truly believe having a birthday party is to spend time with people. So that is something that has worked for us. But then on the receiving end, myself, some of my favorite gifts, and my mum will give me cleaning the oven as a gift for me, particularly when I had kids and for Christmases, because I may be a declutterer, but I declutter so I have less time cleaning and things like that. And I will let my oven get a little bit dirtier than necessary. So when they come to stay from Adelaide to out here in the country, she'll be like, I'm giving you a birthday present or early Christmas present of cleaning your oven. And as a person that loves acts of service, I like my eyes light up. I'm like, this is the best gift ever. And I love it. So giving that time of babysitting kids and things like that, I enjoy that as a gift to someone else and freeing up their time as well. But my daughter's birthday is in a couple of weeks, and we were down in Adelaide and we did pick out a few things for her. So she already knows she's getting some Peter Alexander pajamas, which I think is a ridiculous amount of money to spend on pajamas, but that is her love language and she's very keen to get that. So I had to let go
I'm
of
laughing.
that myself and allow her to have some things that bring her joy.
My daughters wore Peter Alexander pajamas, drawers full. And still loves them to pieces. And every time I buy, I'll say, "What do you want for your birthday?" And she'll say, "Oh, Peter Alexander pajamas." And I say, "But you've got so many." She says, "But I love them." So, and I always say to people, we often give people what we love, not what they love, and we have to be really careful about that too, in that sense. But yes, I was just wondering, so Peter Alexander's pajamas for gift givers, obviously something that maybe people should be thinking about if they need to give a gift to anyone. So how do you see their cluttering with the love language? Like, so when we were talking about that, you were kind of saying that so my son hangs on to sentimental gifts, very much so. And we bought him a goldfish once when he was 10, and he cried and cried. because he said to me, "You've given me something that will die, and I don't want to lose it." And I was just devastated. And I'd bought Cassie one at the same time. And because she wanted one, we hid hers in the shed, and he got his. His died in 24 hours, and hers went on to live for another 2 years. And I was just like, and he said to me after that, he said, "Mum, don't ever give me a living thing. I don't want a living thing. It's too sad." So you go.
Oh, well, that's a communication coming back out as well,
It
and being
is.
able to share those things.
Yeah.
But yes, I definitely see in my son's room, I think the hats were a bit of a stuff you, Mum, when we were at the field days, but he does wear them all.
Yep.
But we are all big library lovers, and he reads hundreds of books as well, but he is very happy to borrow them from the library and send them back. He has a few favorites in his bedroom as well there, but yeah, he still loves things. And surprisingly, I did find a card one Valentine's Day. I'd written him a card of 10 things that I love about him, and I would have expected him to hold on to those things. So I think it's also important to recognize, while we might have one that is a little bit higher than the others in our love language, it doesn't mean we don't like the other things. Everyone likes to hear good things. Everyone likes some quality time and physical touch and acts of service and receiving gifts. And I've had some beautiful gifts. I've got some flowers that are dried flowers that are sitting next to me that someone sent me, and I prefer the dried ones because I can keep them going longer. But yes, it's understanding that there's a favorite, a higher one that they love more, but they can still have the other things as well. But yes, my daughter, she loves the little knickknacks, and she just asked me to ask someone else if they are thinking of a present for her, this would be a good idea for them. So I do appreciate when family members and friends maybe even ask what kids want, so we're not having that extra random plastic clutter coming into our homes, really understanding the person before we give the different gifts. So yes, my daughter has some beautiful things. We just went to the Thunderbirds netball grand final here in South Australia, and she had one of the ladies, Lucy Austin, come out to a coaching training this time last year. So she has that photo displayed on her wall. So we pulled that out and got her to sign that a couple of weeks ago, and now it's back up on the wall. So she definitely treasures those quality time we had together and showing them by having those items displayed around her room.
So really, we don't need that much clutter when it comes to gifts, if you look at it in a sensible way, like, because it's, if you're acts of service, I love someone coming and helping me clean. Best thing ever. I have a cleaner. My husband keeps saying, well, he's lovely and I love him, but sometimes he doesn't clean to a perfectionist standard. But I don't care. And I say to him every week when I walk back in my house and someone else has done that, I just love it, And it's the same even, like you say, with when we talk about cluttering up people, Jack, with his presents, he has a list, and you might understand this. And he says to me, don't ever buy me anything off the list, because I don't want anything that's not on my list. So in a way, if you're cluttering people's lives too by buying them things that they actually don't want and they don't need, that is also a really important conversation to have, because he'll say to me, why did you get that? I didn't ask for it, and it sits there and it's not used.
Yeah, and I think things are available so much more. I think back to my childhood, the things that I wanted, I got for a birthday or a Christmas. And now with the accessibility and cheaper websites and more stuff is coming into our lives at multiple points, things aren't special anymore. There's not as many single opportunities. We're getting that big thing, the delayed gratification. We're not waiting for something. We're getting it a lot quicker. So that is actually a strategy we use with our kids to avoid extra clutter coming in all the time. Yes, of course, we do get things throughout the year, but we use a note section. And if you want a strategy, if your kids have iPads and you have an iPhone, we share a note within the system so I can see it and they can add things to that list. And it's articulated differently between my daughter and my son. Maybe that's some of their personalities. My son is writing the things he wants with bad spelling and leaves it there, whereas my daughter is giving me screenshots of the item, the color, a website link to how I can purchase it. But it also means they can write down and store it in a place. And as it's coming up to Christmas, we can go through and choose some things off of that list. But it avoids me carrying the mental load of having to remember what they wanted, because they have the capacity to add it in via their iPad, and then I can see it while I'm shopping on my notes section in my phone. So maybe that's a strategy different people can try depending on personality types.
And it does really matter, because my son will send me everything, where to buy it, like you say, different links, all the rest of it. Whereas my daughter just sends a photo. And she's gotten a little bit clever now, because she understands that if I don't know where to find her, whether I won't. So she has pursued and become more detailed and structured in her approach. But it is really important, and personalities certainly play so much in your love languages and in your clutter and how you do things. And what we have to be really aware of is what you're saying, is really be really aware of everything you buy and everything you bring into your house, because clutter is really hard to get rid of, no matter whether we are emotionally attached to it or not sometimes, isn't it?
And love can be shown without giving a physical thing as well. And we can feel like society says we need to buy, because that's the marketers, that's their job. We think, even if we look back to engagement rings, it was a marketing company that made the strategy that you have to give 3 months salary in a ring.
And diamonds are forever, marketing strategy. Absolutely. I never heard that one until yesterday, that you had to have 3 months. Wow.
Yep. That was a diamond company that came up with that one.
Smart.
So stop.
Scary.
Yeah.
Yes.
Think critically, understand things. Maybe that's me in my brain of thinking and judging, of understanding things, and let yourself go from that expectation that you need to buy more and more and more, and maybe see what resonates with you. As I say, time, I think, is the most valuable asset that I have, and I would love to spend more time with people and see more people just going out for maybe there are $5-10 coffees these days, but maybe choosing that instead of buying a physical thing, and definitely avoiding as much plastic as we can coming into people's homes, and enjoy time with the people that matter to you and collect those moments, not things.
And ultimately, at the end of it, what might your adult children say to us now is that they love the time that they spend with us. So it really does make a difference, those things. And can I just tell you one thing about your Valentine's card? I used to do that for my kids every Valentine's Day. I gave them a card and told them how much I love them. And then they got in their 20s and they had partners and everything. And I didn't do it anymore. I still don't do it anymore. And they were so upset because they loved and looked forward to it. So beautiful traditions like that, I think, are really gorgeous. And I think they really do mean something to the kids, no matter whether they might push it aside. I do think it really means something. On that note,
traditions, beautiful.
Thank you for being with me, Bridget. I'm sure I'm going to be talking to you very soon in the future. Really love our conversations and what you have to say. Where can people reach you if they would like to organise, declutter, or just have a really great chat about organisational skills?
Yes, Be Simply Free on Instagram is where you can find me. So be.simplyfree. There's lots of free tips on there, and Instagram stories is my favorite place to show the let's be real moments, because it's not about doing this perfectly. It's about working with your family and the people around you in this season of your life to work out what the best options are for you. And besimplyfree.com.au has all the information about how we can work together privately over Zoom, or in my online course called Be Simply Free Forever, where we can connect in a group environment and have Q&A sessions and lots of videos to give you ideas of where to start. And then the role is for you to choose what is right for you and your family. This is not a one way for everyone, because as we've talked about, everyone has different personalities and love languages and ways they work, but it's communicating with your family so you're not doing it all, which is probably my biggest message. Mums aren't maids, and we can all work together to live in the household that we are part of and live a life where we're enjoying time with the people that are important to us.
Beautiful. Thank you for those wise words once again. Thanks for being with me today, Bridget.
Thank you.
So, what was your biggest takeaway from our discussion today about personalities, love languages, and how they connect to clutter and decluttering? So much to think about, right? Bridget has definitely left us with some great insights, and it all starts with understanding not only ourselves, but the people around us. Think about your family, your partner, your kids, and even your friends. How do their personalities shape the way that they deal with clutter? Maybe some love to hold on to everything because it has meaning, while others are letting things go as soon as they're no longer useful. Knowing this can make a world of difference when you're tackling those messy spaces together. And don't forget about those love languages that we touched on. If your partner's love language is quality time, maybe decluttering together can be a bonding experience. If someone in your family feels love through gifts, it might be tricky for them to part with certain things. By recognizing these nuances, you can approach decluttering in a way that respects everybody's needs. So, as you go about your day, maybe take a moment to reflect on how your own personality influences the way you keep or clear things, and how you can support those you love in their own decluttering journey. Thank you for listening to Parenting and Personalities. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you could leave a rating and a review that would help others learn about the podcast. If you're interested in discovering more about you and your family's personality types, you'll find my book, Who Is This Monster or Treasure in My House, on Booktopia or Amazon. If you have an episode idea, please send a note to thepersonalitycoach@gmail.com. Many thanks to our producers at Stories and Strategies, and we'll see you next time.